Welcome to the Vastness of Google podcast. In this episode, this is a very special and a very personal episode to me. I want to have a serious discussion about a placement that I have lived with through my whole entire life. And guess what? I'm going to be blunt. I don't like it. This podcast is going to focus on the gifts of it, really focusing on the shadows of it, but the lessons and the growth opportunities that you can learn from it to turn those shadows into positives. That's what I want to focus on in this podcast. I'm going to go through all of these shadows and gifts, one by one, so that you can understand the full picture in a more deeper, less surface level philosophical look at Jupiter in Virgo, because so many people say Jupiter and Virgo can work on improving their skills and becoming detail oriented and focusing on you're good at healthcare, you're good at like that. Like, I'm sorry, but absolutely not. I have Jupiter and Virgo, I've lived with it, and I totally disagree with that. I totally disagree with it. Jupiter in Virgo is here to learn the exact opposite of being detail oriented, because here's the reason why. They are already that way, that they're so stuck in the details that they need to get out of the details. It's a problem for them, not something that they need to develop. So if you're talking about Jupiter and Virgo, that is wrong. That is wrong. So that's something that I feel very, very passionate about. I mean, I've been concerned about this ever since, I found out about it, and I want to go into that a little bit. I'm gonna get personal here. This podcast is gonna be different from my other episodes or other videos in the Jupiter through the Sign series. This is not, um, like that. I have seen videos on Jupiter and Virgo. I saw one video where, like, Jupiter in um, Virgo is, Virgo is critical, and, it's like the teacher, um, criticizes the students instead of looking at their potentials. Like, Virgo's the energy of flaws, 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 and it's a bad placement. And I saw another video where the person was like too bogged down in detail, and it's all negative, negative, negative. Um, no disrespect to the people of, like, I quote, this person said, no disrespect to the people with Jupiter and Virgo, but it's not the easiest of positions. First of all, they don't need to be reminded that because they already know it. But the bigger reason why is it's like, well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for making me feel so good about myself. Thanks a lot. That makes me feel real good about the placement being in what is considered detriment, which I'm going to talk about. Because let's face it, it is. Like, that makes me feel real nice. Thank you very much for that boost of confidence. Thank you very much for uplifting me and making me feel like, I don't want to use the word. It's like, I've seen these videos, and I saw this other video where there's this simple interpretation this summer where she said very simply, and it wasn't very long and it wasn't very in depth. She said, not the luckiest of positions, but can succeed in work. And that's how they get through their luck. Like, I'm sorry, but no. No, 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 no. You are not digging deep into this. You are not researching this. You don't have Jupiter and Virgo, but anyway, you're not researching this. Like, do your research and do a deep dive with this placement, because it's not what you think it is. They do not gain luck and service, or luck and growth through work opportunities, becoming very detail oriented in those work opportunities. Like, that is not what it's about. It's surface level, and it's not painting an accurate picture of Jupiter in Virgo. And so what I want to do in this video is correct this, Jupiter and Virgo, improve things. I want to improve what is wrong with how people are defining this placement. And it makes me mad because I live with it. And in my life, it has not served me, to be honest. Besides the astrology of it, it hasn't served me. It has not served me at all. Well, I mean, it served me in some things. Like, for example, I'm very humble because of it. That's one of the Jupiter attributes. Like, I think I can say anything. Like, I feel so good about myself, and it can come out as being humble because I provide the information. I provide, like, I'm already detail oriented. Like, it's a natural skill for Jupiter and Virgo to be detail oriented and crafting their skills. Like, that's something that they're born with. That's something that they don't need to learn to develop into. They don't need to acquire that. They already have that, possibly to the point of their detriment. Because Jupiter, I'm going to be blunt, but I'm not going to leave you with thinking that Jupiter and Virgo is all bad. But this episode is going to have my bias in it because I feel really strongly about it. And it kind of pieced it together with my life and the themes of my life. Jupiter in Virgo is in detriment. That's the real truth of it. And I'm going to get into the reasons why later on in this video. But perfectionism has been a story with me for my whole life. What I can think of right now doing this podcast is I used to, yes, I had very creative energy, but when I made videos, I made thousands of videos, and quite a few of them I started playing something. Nope, it's not correct. I played the song again. Nope, it's not correct. And I kept doing it over and over and over again until um until I was exhausted, until it was no longer fun anymore. So that's an example. Perfectionism has played out in several areas of life where I've been, like I feel like I'm too bogged down in details. Like what that astrologer said was true, but he was not spinning it around. Like, how about you tell like the negatives, but how you focus on the positives and how you can learn from those negatives. What is the potentials and blessings from those negatives that you listed? Like, that's what I want to focus on in this podcast, not surface level stuff, but I want to talk about the shadows and how you can learn from them and grow from them and thrive in your life with this placement and through um acquiring these shadows, or not acquiring, but learning through these shadows that I'm going to be discussing. There's more, but the ones I'm going to provide here, that's how you can gain true luck in your life. Not through working and diligence and healthcare and and routine and like no. So if you want the typical Jupiter and Virgo discussion, click off this video right now because I'm not going to give it to you. I feel too strongly about this placement to just make it yet another video. Like, I can't do that because I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it, and I want to give you what I believe combined with the real information about Jupiter in Virgo. So that's what I'm going to get into. So the very, very first thing. And so I want to get into other things. I'm very critical of myself. I am so critical of myself. If you probably cannot tell from my videos, but I am really critical of myself. And I struggled throughout my whole life to see the bigger picture. Like, for example, I make a video and there's just one flaw in it, and I can't get past that flaw. It's been that way for my whole life because I've been making videos since I was, what, 5, 6, and I've been doing it from that point on. Like, I've been making videos almost my whole life, just in different stages, forms, and phases. And so, I've been doing that my whole life, and it's like I've been, there is something true where they're so bogged down in the flaws and details, and that's a really, really big issue with Jupiter and Virgo, is that they are so, into the flaws and what is wrong. There are benefits to that. I'm going to get into that. But anyway, do not tell them. Don't tell somebody with Jupiter and Virgo to pay attention to the details. That's like telling a um a high school kid to learn addition again or simple subtraction again. Like, they already naturally know how to do it. It's like breathing to them. It's so natural. Don't tell them what to do when they do it so well and it may not be working out for them. Like, that is not what they are here to do, and that is not what they are here to learn from. I want to get that clear and strict right out of the way. The big lesson here is seeing the bigger picture. It's not brain work, it's not mentally going in and changing your perspective. It is relaxing, compassion, choosing to see the forest for the trees, choosing to see just without thinking, overthinking, and becoming bogged down in that. Like, okay, for example, for me, in the videos, this video has this one flaw, but you know what? I put a lot of time and energy into this, and the information was really, really good, and I delivered it in a great way. So this is perfect. And the one thing I want to say about perfect, the definition perfect, I think I confused that when I was little. Because when something is overly perfect, it has no soul, no spirit, no, um, no natural simplicity of the celery going out to the root. It's just not interesting. It's just not engaging to listen to or watch or engage in. There is perfect, and how I define it now is perfectly imperfect. Perfectly imperfect. And that's how I define perfect. And if I have to be honest, my videos I would describe as pretty perfectly imperfect. Like, there's a word called flawsome, where you're awesome with flaws. Like, you're embracing the flaws. You're awesome with the flaws that make you awesome. The flaws make you awesome. Like, that's what it means. So they are learning to see um, the bigger picture of what they are learning in their life, and seeing the bigger outlook of what this is, and not the forest for the trees. As I've stated before, Jupiter and Virgo will not get lucky when they pay attention to details. It'll be probably the opposite for them, especially me, who has Jupiter retrograde in Virgo. And Jupiter retrograde in Virgo is more internal. It is where Jupiter and Virgo, even though this is Jupiter and Virgo direct, I'm not focusing on the direct version of it. I'm talking retrograde, retrograde, retrograde. The internal lessons that we have to suffer through probably every day of our lives. The being critical, being too bogged down in details. Um, and the like, it's not it's not about that. It's not about, because when we get too bogged down in details, we become so stuck in the details, that we're not focusing on the bigger picture, which is essential for a Jupiter and Virgo to learn, to learn to see the bigger picture, to get out of the criticism and the the negativity, and all of that, all the minutia of life. We're learning to step out of that and see it for its potentials, see it objectively without getting stuck up in our critical emotions of it. Like, that's what we're doing. Okay, now let's talk about Jupiter's dignity. This is probably the fixation of this podcast and the whole idea wrapped around this podcast. I'm just going to say that out front right now and be completely honest with you. Let's just face the facts. Jupiter is in detriment in Virgo. And this is now, I don't believe in labeling placements and being emotional and biased about it. Like, I don't believe in that, and I'm trying not to do it, but I can't help it. I feel so strongly about this. Um, I'm going to be kind of emotional when I talk about this, which is what you probably shouldn't be when you're talking about planetary dignity and astrology. But I am going to talk about the benefits of this, but I am going to be kind of emotional if I wasn't already, because I think many astrologers, several, are interpreting this not in the right way, not in the most positive, deep, real way. They're skimming the surface, they're not getting to the root of it, which kind of annoys me. Um, so, one of the things about Jupiter and Virgo is it is the the positive about it. It is being humble. One of the positives about Jupiter and Virgo is that it is so incredibly humble. It is, learns humbly. Um, it's like it's not too proud of itself. Um, it's like, I did well, but I'm honestly looking at the mistakes that I made, and I'm honestly seeing how I can learn from these mistakes. Like that's humble. That's, not being so egoic and full of yourself. Like it's one of the highlights of Jupiter and Virgo is being able to see yourself honestly. Being humble is like seeing yourself honestly for the things you've done well and not flaws and not making a bigger deal out of it than it already is. Like seeing it objectively for what it is and not making a big ideal about it in your emotional head, which we can get so caught up in email. Like humble is objective. That's what humble is. The downside of this, though, is that because of its humble power, sometimes the Jupiter in Virgo can be too far, and it's learning to balance this out. It's learning to become um, um, humble still, and I'm not saying less humble, but in a more, um, confident kind of way. Like self-confidence is kind of a huge issue with Jupiter and Virgo, because, and I want to get into why it's detriment. I forgot to do that. What is Jupiter, first of all? Jupiter is big picture, philosophy. It is travel, expansion. It is, without listing the words, it is seeing the good in life. It's seeing the fun in life. Life is a party. There's no limits. It rules. Jupiter rules Pisces as well as Sagittarius. Like these are all the things that Jupiter rules, and Virgo is like so different from that. It is details and structures and routines, and it is not being so broad and big picture. Like that's not Virgo energy. And so um, I'm kind of struggling now for words, which is probably why I shouldn't be spending too much time on this. But just to say that Jupiter is very, expansive, and Virgo is very contracted. Those are some of the reasons why Jupiter is in detriment in Virgo, and I do not have the capacity right now in this podcast to go in depth about that. So I'm going to be honest about that and move on. Now, I am going to cite my sources once. I don't usually do this because I'd be doing it all the time, but I'm going to be honest. I was reading an article preparing for this video because I was curious about learning about this before I did this podcast. This was a person actually. I was so like, I'll be darned. I swear to you, this person had Jupiter in Virgo and retrograde. In the 8th house, my Jupiter's in the 9th house. At least my Jupiter, I mean, this is biased of me to say this, but I'm glad my Jupiter is in the 9th house. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. It's the 9th house. It is, like, I'm not just listing this factually, like, this is my true feelings on it, like, my true feelings on it, which is very stuck in the negatives. Like, sometimes I feel like I could care less about this placement. Like, this is messing with my life. um, and, it's kind of like a voice that I get sometimes that utters curse words and swear words. It's like I can't think clearly. I can't focus on my other things. It's a cadence. People need to be careful what they say around me because it may rhyme with it. Like this is kind of thing. Like, honestly, I have to be real and raw with you here. It kind of messed with my whole entire life. Like, I had it so good and I have it so good, but I could have had it way better had I probably had a different placement. Like, I'm sorry to just be so negative and, like labeling, but that's just how I feel. And I just want to express that here. This is not a podcast all about my rant on my opinions of it. This is like, information about it. So I want to try to make it that it will be kind of my own personal things. Because, I mean, if you didn't know already, this is my personal Jupiter placement. Um, okay, so as I was talking about, Jupiter and Virgo has some issues with self-confidence, and they are learning to be more powerful with with themselves and with others, stepping into their own power. Like we feel like I'm not powerful enough. I'm a martyr to this. I have to conform. I have no autonomy. I have no sovereignty. I can't make decisions for myself. I can't act for myself. I can't pursue my passions and goals. I can't go out and make things happen. Like that's what they need to develop the confidence to step into. Now, luckily, I have my Aries Sun energy, which really helps me out a lot, and my North Node in Taurus. Like I really, really like my North Node in Taurus, and that's an Earth placement on my chart. Like I couldn't have had a better um placement because it is so stable, and it is so much about your values, and it is about the Earth and connecting to the senses, and it grounds me, and it's about peace and joy and abundance. Like it is such a blessing to me that I have the North Node in Taurus in my chart, and I don't have North Node in Scorpio. Um, because North Node in Scorpio, tough. It's tough because you're, leaving behind, um, Taurus, which is so stubborn and holds on to the material possessions, and you have to let go of that, and you have to become spiritual and occult and immaterial. You'll have to rely on others. You have to transform. Like it is kind of a tough placement to live with, and I don't want to make anyone feel bad who has displacement watching this. But I'm just going to say I'm glad I have North Node and Taurus, and I just want to leave it at that. So I hope I didn't, do what I said that in the video that guy was saying no disrespect to the people. Like I'm sorry if I did that. That was not my intention. I just wanted to deliver you the opinions about it. But I apologize if I did. That's what I want to truly say authentically about that. Because I don't believe in that. I believe as looking at both sides of placements. Both the positive and negatives, and I don't want to give you what I don't believe in this podcast. So Jupiter in Virgo is learning to be powerful. Jupiter is like a superpower. It's so confident in itself. It's so optimistic. It has faith. Jupiter in Virgo is learning to have more optimism and faith because Virgo can really be pessimistic. I mean, Virgo is an energy that's like, just seeing, all these flaws. Like even Capricorn is this way. Where there's, just so pessimistic, seeing, stuck in the negatives. Like even though I have the positive Aries energy, I tend to dwell on the negatives and on the regrets and on the past because probably one of the ideas is having this placement. Okay. So Jupiter is an energy that has many, many different kinds of perspectives. It is open to anything. Virgo helps us ground with this placement. One of the advantages is Virgo grounds us Jupiter into, first of all, discerning what perspective you're looking at. So you're not just looking at any perspective. And the positive thing about Jupiter and Virgo is that let's say you have a big idea, big, 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 grandiose idea, and you want to manifest it. Are you going to go on a bike and say this is great and shout from the rooftops and you're going to fall off the cliff? Are you going to make a big deal about it and it suddenly turns to trash? Like, Jupiter and Virgo helps grow. Like, okay, we have the confidence to manifest this. Let's be detail oriented, and let's be, um, you know, let's be detail oriented about this. maybe Jupiter can step into being attention to details, but only if they love themselves. But they're already so stuck into details. So I don't want to confuse you. I don't want to contradict myself with that. So I'm going to stop right there before it gets too confusing. Um, so, it has all these great ideas. Like, let's say you want to launch a business or, write a book or travel and live in a new country, well, or, travel to, Spain or, whatever. And Jupiter has the optimism to do that. And Virgo says, well, in order to do that, these details need to be taken care of. These steps have to be done. Like a classic example that I bring up over and over again. Fill your parachute up with helium. Take care of that detail, because otherwise if you're so confident in that parachute and you don't take care of the details, you're gonna fall in the sea. You're going to drown and you're possibly gonna die. Okay? So um so with this, it's like, okay, we're being methodical about this, we're being realistic about it. If you want your dreams manifested, like if you feel so confident, the way this 3D reality works, you have to go to Earth School, you have to learn to take care of sometimes the mundane practical details, like that's just how it is. And I'm not here to sugarcoat that or change that, like that's how it is. But Jupiter and Virgo does not have to be stuck in that. Jupiter can expand out of that. Um, okay. So, another thing that's really, really big, indulgence and complaining. Wow. Wow, this is a big thing. Like, I can't tell you, like, when something's wrong, when there's some problem, or when somebody's not doing their job, or, like, for example, my work situation is not going well because there's not a job coach, and there's not the people aren't going to work very efficiently, where they're not training me on proper things, and there were job coaches there to help me train on other things. Like, and I was complaining about that, and I have to be perfectly honest, it was a joy to complain about it. Like, it's fun. It's like kind of. I'm exaggerating this, and this may not be true for me, but it's kind of like riding on a roller coaster. It's kind of like eating, sugar. Like, it's fun and it's addictive. Like they can get so caught up in complaining and in a mood about something and focusing on the negatives. Now, another big piece of this, and this is really, really deep. You want to really, this is food for thought. Being so caught up in the problem and not the solution. That is something very Virgo, that, Virgo is about problem solving. That's the high road of Virgo. The low road of Virgo is, this is all wrong. These are the flaws. This is bad. This can't be fixed. And what about the positive side is, what about the solution to this? How can this be improved? How can this be made better? How can this be fixed or solved? And if Jupiter and Virgo can learn to do that instead of dwelling in the problem and being stuck in the problem, they can go far. Now, another thing is that, say, Jupiter and Leo, for example, that I discussed in the live stream last week about the art of living big, is kind of the art of living small. It's kind of the opposite. Where Jupiter in Leo wants to be big and loud and fully itself, Jupiter in Virgo is all about, going behind the scenes and doing things on the sidelines, like crafting, or knitting, or crocheting, or building the sets, or being the assistant manager, not the manager itself. Like, it feels more comfortable being on the sidelines and helping out. It does not feel the most comfortable being in the spotlight, probably because there's issues here with stepping into its own power, and they are learning to be more self-confident in themselves to step into their own power. And that is one way that they can gain their luck, not through their work, not through their attention to detail, but through their ability to say, I'm stepping into my own power, and I am, getting lucky in this way because Jupiter is how you gain your luck. Like there is just surface level, what's going on in your love life, like daily horoscopes, like that is surface level astrology. That is not real, deep, seasoned astrology. Like horoscope columns. Tarot.com is slightly an exception to this. Like Howcast astrology interpretations. Like, these are surface level things, and I am not into this type of astrology at all. And I'm not going to go on a whole rant about that because I want to stop that I could, but I don't want to do that in this video. Okay. So, now the big thing that if I didn't already indirectly emphasize this, the big lesson here is self-love and self-acceptance. Self-love and self-acceptance. This is like, if there's the most important thing in this video, and if you want to click off or something like that, if there's one thing that you can take away from this video, it's this. Because I have lived through Jupiter and Virgo, and it is so natural. Like, Jupiter is what you're really, really good at. Like, Jupiter's your superpower. And Jupiter and Virgo is so good at criticism, negative self-talk, like talking down to ourselves. And so if we can break that tendency to criticize ourselves and reframe that and say, well, I'm doing a good job at this. Or I'm good at this. I love doing this as opposed to hating doing this. Like, I did a good job with this video, or this book, or I did a good job putting the dishes away, or I made this meal in a very, very good way, or I helped this person out today. That helping is enough. You are enough. Like, look in the mirror, say you're enough. Like, you are enough. And also worthiness, feeling worthy, and that's also going into prosperity, which is kind of another discussion I want to have later in this video. But you are enough. And when we can just stop trying to fix and improve all the time and criticize and just surrender, just relax and just accept yourself as you are because you are perfect as you are. Jupiter and Virgo, you don't need to improve any more than you're already doing. Of course, we all need to improve, but the point is you can improve. You can improve. Okay, here's the thing. First, you accept yourself as you are and you love yourself. Then, when you love yourself, you see the problems that you saw before when you're all critical and you're compassionate, like, I want to fix this. And this is a compassionate and kind and honest way that I want to fix this because I care about myself and I'm loving to myself and I want to make my life better. Like, let's improve this. Like, that's what happens when Jupiter and Virgo is compassionate about themselves, is they can improve things. They can make things better, but it starts off with the self-compassion and self-acceptance. So seeing the bigger picture, you can fully develop your skills when you stop being so critical of yourselves. That's another thing that goes along with it, improvement, criticizing, or with your skills. And the other thing is efficiency, getting things done. And they say, be efficient and, get things done. Well, that is true, and I want to explain that. If you're so busy judging yourself and criticizing yourself in the negative, 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 then you can't get things done because you're not looking at the potentials. You're not looking at the positives. You're not focusing on the present moment awareness. What can I do right here and now? You're dwelling on the regrets, and you're not focusing on what's working well with this. And I mean, there's so many reasons. So if you're busy, judging yourselves with, the things in your life, then you actually become less efficient. When you can stop judging so much, you can actually get more things done. Like, that's what you'll find. So, like, astrologers, watch this video, listen to this video. Those 3 people that I was talking about making this video, you've got to see this because you are in the wrong. Or if you're not, you were not deep enough, you were not clear enough. Now there is a genuine desire to improve. Virgo is not the servant, but in service. The humble servant, not the martyr, not like that's the shadow of Virgo, but there's a desire to improve things, like to make things better. And that's the upside of perfection. No, 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 no. And this is where I talk about perfectionism. Let me be absolutely blunt with you. Perfectionism is a bad thing, okay? Flat out. Bad thing. I saw a title of a video that said why perfectionism is a good thing. Nope, it is not. I don't care what you think, there's no sides to it. This guy was talking about it. All of his points were very good. Very well, I agreed with everything he was saying. But to label it perfectionism is just in the wrong. Because what is perfectionism? Perfectionism, like racism, like sexism is bad. There's no sides to perfectionism. If you have sides to perfectionism, here's the result. Absolute and utter confusion. Okay? Perfectionism is negative and it is bad because perfectionism is the constant improving to make things better to the point of non-satisfaction, judging yourself, not being satisfied, being critical of yourself, being obsessive about doing something one way and making it perfect and continuing to do that, and you're so consumed by it and you're so stuck in it that you're not getting out of it and that you're not focusing on something else and you're not just letting go and accepting it as it is and being okay with it and seeing the potentials of it. Like, perfectionism, no, there is self-improvement where we can make, like, there's a difference because it's one thing to say, oh, I'm, improving something and making things better and let's, fix this or make things better and do all that. Like there's absolute credit and importance, and that is absolutely valid 100%. But to call it perfectionism, you are not accurate, and you are what 40 something years old, I think, and I'm younger and I'm wiser about that than you are, in my opinion. Like that proves that age is just a number. So, there you go. So that's my kind of rant and my spiel on perfectionism. I was about to say sides of perfectionism, and I was like, nope, stop right there. Full stop. No sides to perfectionism. Some things don't have sides. Don't get all say, oh, well, there's nuance to this, and you're not looking at the nuance, and that's not right. It is right, okay? Some things are just inherently negative, and I believe perfectionism is all negative. There are other terms that are similar to that are not, but perfectionism is negative. There's no two ways about it. Um, the desire to improve things, I don't need to go any further than that about that. Now, one of the gifts of Jupiter and Virgo also is skepticism. It is skepticism. I'm going to slow down now because I really want to go through the rest of these points in a very, very slow way because, as you could tell, I was kind of getting fired up because I'm really passionate about this. So I'm going to slow down and really take my time and get through these points because I can feel like I'm going to be rushing getting through these points that I want to make. So skepticism. Virgo is very skeptical because it is so much about what is logical and what is based in fact, in logic. That's Virgo energy. Pisces is like the intangible, what's not based in logic. And so Virgo is very skeptical of things. Like it doesn't just go into something, full force without analyzing it quickly, without being critical of it. And that is so important these days, to be critical and skeptical of things. Like it's so critical. AI, I'm on a whole rabbit hole about that. I don't. Yeah. So I'm going down a rabbit hole about that, where you can't tell what's AI and what's not from that. to to there's other examples to the news sources. Like, I'm gonna tell you, I do not get my news from Fox or CNN because I don't want to be embroiled in an argument. I don't want to be viewing the news from a swayed way. Because when it comes to news, not some things in life you can't base on fact, but when it comes to news, fact is all the way. You want to be absolute fact. This is what happened, not this person's bias swaying it. Like, it's one thing if things are intangible and not based off of logic, but another if someone is biased that way. Now, I hope it's not coming across as just my bias of how bad I feel about this. I mean, I do have a bias, but the intention behind this podcast is to not make it all negative because I don't believe in that. But I don't believe in being surface level and typical. Like, I'm so glad I switched the way of making videos because if I just made another video, I would be looking back at that now going, what the heck did I just make? I need to do that over to the point where it's more true for me because this is my placement and I deserve to talk about it my own way. So, yeah. So, skepticism, it's so important, and that's one of the gifts of Virgo is being critical, like being very discerning. Like disinformation, being picky in good ways. There's picky and like nitpicky. I don't like nitpicky. Like, I don't like picking out pieces of food. In foods, I like to just eat the whole thing and like the whole thing. Like, I know somebody in my life is just so particular with food, and I'm like barely that at all. There's few foods that I just actually won't eat and don't like, and I really, really like that about myself. Yet I also like that I have preferences and that I know what I like and dislike about it. So skepticism, about things is, being discerning and all those kind of things, and that's what it is. Um, Another thing is that, Jupiter in Virgo has some difficulty with trusting others. There's difficulty trusting others because it's so critical on itself. Like, don't be critical and judgmental of a Jupiter in Virgo unless it is constructive criticism delivered by compassion. If you have a Jupiter in Virgo, like I'm telling you right now, listen to this and hear this. If you have a Jupiter in Virgo in your life, and they are being critical of themselves, or they messed up or did something wrong, I don't care how much, they could have Leo in their chart, they could have Aries in their chart, like I'm an Aries. Don't be judgmental of them and get on them for their mistakes. Instead, be honest about them, make them aware of their mistakes if they're not already, and work on them to fix it. Like, there's ways of being critical and giving constructive criticism with compassion, with neutrality, with no intentions of being critical or judgmental. So don't judge a Jupiter in Virgo. They are already hard enough on themselves, especially Jupiter retrograde. Um, and so now, I want, if you've been hearing Jupiter and Virgo, the wrong way, apparently the way that I don't want to go into, I hope this is very enlightening towards you. I want to intend to make this enlightening for you to listen to, and I hope that I am doing that. So it's very difficult to trust others because they're so hard on themselves, and that's one of the reasons for that. Virgo can be so wrapped up in themselves, wrapped up in their troubles and their woes and their criticism, like so self-focused on what's wrong with them that they're not focused on looking outside of themselves and helping others. Like, there's other help, not self-help, as Lynn McTaggart was talking about in one of her videos. On one of the videos with her. Like, that's what she was talking about. Like, she was saying all this stuff about self-help. Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. I disagree with that. But what I agree with is the fact that she was talking about getting outside of yourself. Like, there's been people in my life that said, get outside of yourself. Do something outside of your own world and judging yourself and being, so introspective and, all those things. Like, people in my life has been giving me the lesson over and over again. Get outside of yourself. Get outside of yourself. And now I'm seeing how important and how beneficial that can be. Because when you get outside of yourself, you get out of all that I was talking about, and you can actually focus on something positive, something worth your energy, something more enjoyable to focus on, as opposed to just all the negatives. Um, so, and that can be service. They can help through service. Like they're so good at service, already, and that the high word of Virgo is genuinely wanting to serve and help others. So there you go. Just like I was kind of talking about, I don't need to go too much depth about this because I think you already get the point. Consumed by issues. What's going wrong? The flaws, that's kind of the same point that I was making. You want to be really critical of your habits. What habits are you feeding? What energies are you feeding? Like what you feed, where attention goes, energy flows. What you put your attention on manifests in your life and it just becomes bigger. So if you're focused on, as I said before, having the habit, developing the habit, because your actions become your habits, become your destiny, something along the lines of what Margaret Thatcher said. Um, and so, and so strong habits, um, the thing is developing good habit, discerning what is a good habit and bad habit. And I want to say that efficiency is the thing because sometimes Virgo can be so, so consumed with making this one thing perfect that they miss all these other things because they're not looking at the big picture. And so they're not wanting to be detail oriented, they're wanting to look at the bigger picture and attend to the bigger picture. And so that's the lesson of Jupiter in Virgo. Like the whole thing about OCD. Oh gosh, this is a quintessential placement for OCD. You're gonna wait and see how I'm gonna get off on OCD. I'm just gonna summarize it for you because I feel like this is gonna be a long podcast. I already feel that it is. I was washing my hands continuously. I was wiping over and over again. My hands were getting cracked. I was getting consumed with OCD. Um, Lessons of OCD: being okay with uncertainty, being taking care of it once and not doing it again, and and just getting out of that habit of criticism when it comes and being caught in perfectionism. OCD is about rituals and perfectionism. That's what OCD is based around. This is a very likely placement with OCD. I have it, and I happen to have OCD. Another form of OCD now, but I used to have really bad OCD. Back in the end of 2022 to 2023, the whole year was rough for me with OCD. That is that. So it can have the tendencies of being obsessive compulsive tendencies. Those are it's a very, very strong likelihood with Virgo energy, and especially with this placement. And I also think, habits, before I get to the next point. So be mindful of what you feed your attention to. Stop being so critical of yourself and focus on developing good, healthy habits. And I want to talk about some of these good, healthy habits. Habits like, um, habits like walking and being present. Like Virgo is so in their head about stuff. Like so in their head, thinking of the lists and the next plan and the next castatum and the next garatum and and the next thing that it has to do, the next thing on its to-do list. That it's not focused on being present in the moment. And so walking, being present, getting outside, meditation, grounding your energy, like these are all I think essential things that Jupiter and Virgo should do at least every so often because if you struggle with being critical of yourself and being caught in your head, then this is a good thing. And the next point, kind of overlapping with that, is overthinking. I have abused my oracle cards, doing this. Like I was caught in overthinking. Here's what overthinking is, in my mind. Overthinking is, let's say you experience something and you're like, I didn't have the right mindset for this. I didn't feel good doing this. I didn't, enjoy this. I was thinking this when I should have been thinking that. And overthinking is perfectionism. And so what you're doing then, as you look back and you're critical of yourself and you're going back and you're saying, let's do this again, and you're replaying the experience over and over again. Okay, well, that was good, but then I wasn't feeling this enough. You're replaying the experience again, and through that you are not relaxing your mind. You're overthinking when your mind feels constricted. It feels restricted, like you're pressing so hard, like you're working so hard in your mind. Just breathe, relax. Relax your mind. Stop overthinking. Get out of your head and just take a break. Just do something which gets you out of your head, out of yourself. That's what I would say. So the cleaning lady. I want to bring this up because this goes back to kind of martyrdom and not letting power, just cleaning. Like Virgo can be in humble jobs, sure, but sometimes it's just so humble that it's like you have no power at all. Like it's okay to be in humble jobs where you do have some power, but Virgo can get too set up in that because they're afraid of their own power that oh my goodness, another thing I just thought of now is they limit their potential. They limit their potential because Jupiter is optimism. Like when people say, you could be this, you could do this, and Jupiter's Virgo's like, I can't do that. I don't have the skills. I'm not perfect enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not good enough. And they limit themselves from really living their big and best life. And so, if they have self compassion, if they see all the gifts and potentials and unique qualities that they have that are gifts and perks, see their perks, quirks as their perks, then they can, really, um, you know, do things that feel right to them at that point and do things where they're confident in themselves and they believe in themselves, like they're learning to believe in themselves this life. And they're stepping into that and they are doing things that really put them in their own power. So that's what I want to circle back to that. Now let's talk about the next point. This is another big point, and this is a personal one. Throughout my whole school experience, I've had trouble in groups. Like I have like every single time there's been an issue with groups, I've been trouble in groups, and it's usually the group members are not helpful enough. They won't put enough attention on me. They just forget about me like I'm not even there. They just do it themselves and leave me out of the picture almost entirely sometimes. And they it's like they don't see me and ignore me. It's like um they They, yeah, I'm not editing this out, so I'll pause occasionally with this. I think explained it where I have to get in and assertively say, "What can I do to help?" instead of the group members initiating. And sometimes I even do that. And they're like, "Oh, well, you could help me do this, and you can do this little thing." But it's not. It's vague. It's not direct. It's not something concrete that you can do. Um, that's what happens in my friendships, and I can't think of anything more to say about that. But the difficulty is they have trouble speaking up in friendships. They have difficulty speaking up because they're afraid of their own power. Like, this is another example of this. Speaking up and taking responsibility. What can I do in this? And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not telling you to do this because this is easier said than done. And I am still learning this, and someday I will be better at this. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just listing this is one of the facts of Jupiter and Virgo is that it is struggles with responsibility in friendships. The more you are compassionate with yourself, the more you can serve others and be compassionate with others. Like, if you are not compassionate and loving towards yourself, how do you expect to be compassionate towards others? A classic example of this that's kind of similar to this. Don't put your oxygen mask on, you know, first or after you help another. Put it on first. Like, attend to yourself, take care of yourself. Similar to having compassion with yourself so that you can have compassion for others. And Pisces, the opposite sign, Virgo can evolve through its opposite sign of Pisces, which is about compassion. I am making this video during the South Node in Virgo, North Node in Pisces. So this could not be more true right now. This could not be more true. This could not be more true. So we're leaning into Pisces. My first choice is Taurus North Node. I love it. My second choice is Pisces North Node, because Pisces North Node is spiritual. It lets go. It's creative. It's imaginative. That's my second choice in North Node. My third choice is Sagittarius, not down the list, but anyway. So another thing is they can kind of be, at times mean, like critically mean and just naturally mean. Like there's somebody an astrologer that I was watching about Jupiter and Virgo, like saying I'm kind of mean to somebody. Like I'm just like, and how you cannot be mean. Like it's so natural to be critical of others. Like it's so natural to judge others. Like my dad, for example, I was nitpicky with him so much when I was growing up over the littlest things. And I couldn't help it. That's what I felt like I wanted to say. And I was nitpicky about the clothes that he was wearing, about the words that he was saying and how he was phrasing them. Like, so like the way that he approached doing things with me, like, all these kind of things like that. Um, they kind of can be mean, and how they can not be so mean is if they have compassion for themselves. When they are loyal, they are dedicated not in a fierce or intense way like Leo or Scorpio, but in a humble, dedicated, efficient way. Like Virgo is kind of the goody two shoes, like the goody goody child wanting to be the good kid, like help and sharpen pencils and do their job, fall in line, follow the rules. Like Jupiter and Virgo is conventional. They're not about taking risks. They are rule followers. I have an Aries sun, which is really kind of, rebellious, but my Jupiter in Virgo has kept me following the rules, doing school really well. The teachers tell me I have a really, really good work ethic in school. Teachers tell me that I can't think of it, that that I, just do really well in general. I can't think of it right now. But they're dedicated, and it's just so natural to be dedicated. Like it's so natural to, like it's so natural. It's like they have it at the wazoo. Um, where they can get into something and be so into something and focus in on the details of it naturally and hone in on those details and do it like it's so natural, for them to do and be dedicated to that. Even the things that they're maybe resistant to doing or not, like they just naturally know this is the job I have to get done. This is the job I have to get done um, at this time, and this is what I have to do. And they just put their mind right in that place, and they get it done. They're naturally skilled and efficient at things. Like that's one of the gifts of Jupiter and Virgo. Another thing that I want to talk about is self-worth. Self-worth is so important. Feeling worthy of feeling worthy of themselves. Worthy, like I can have this, I can attain this. My Taurus North Node is also helping me with that. The inner dialogue that I'm not good enough keeps you from having sense of self-worth. I've talked about perfectionism before. Intelligence and wisdom. They're very, very intelligent, and they have a lot of wisdom through their practical tips and their attention to details and through their life experience of work. They're very smart. They have people with Jupiter and Virgo are very, very intelligently. They're very book smart, as you would describe it. They have all these little bits of information that they collected. Like they're very intelligent. They're very well learned. They're very well educated. people in general. And if you listen to all my videos from the time I started making videos, I think that you'll find that. And I don't talk in probably, you know, um, you know, I can't think of, the word exactly. But anyway, they're very wise. Another thing is because they're so attention to or detail oriented, one of the high roads of this is they can solve problems that other people avoid. They can solve problems that other people want to overlook, like the mundane, like this is so typical of Virgo. The mundane, repetitive tasks that we don't want to deal with, that we're sick of dealing with. Virgo can just pull up its bootstraps and hone in on it and get right into it and take care of it. Like, they're just not afraid to do that. And I guess I'm the same way. Um, so they solve problems that other people would avoid. Now, this whole AI thing, let's hope AI does not replace the Jupiter and Virgo's desire to do this, because AI is taking over workers in the workplace. For them not being, being taken over because it's doing the repetitive tasks. So all this I'm saying is another confirmation that there's aspects of AI that's negative. Whole rant, not going to get into that. So another thing is, there are things in life that can and cannot be perfected. A lot of things, like the subjective things, cannot be perfected. Writing, there's no such thing as perfect writing. Art, no such thing as perfect art. Dancing, I would probably also describe that as not perfect. Like Abby Lee Miller, I hope that you're listening to this because it's not meant to be perfect. It's an art form. Yes, there are perfect elements to that, certainly like technique and do all that. And there are things that you need to become very skilled about, but it's in the end an art form. Um, so, um, and if you don't know who she is, she's a famous dance teacher. You can find her all over the internet. Star of Dance Mom is very popular, very infamous. So I just had to throw that in there. So there's some things like objective things, like 1 + 1 = 2, or all these things that can't, like these objective things can be perfected, and that's what we have to understand. This part of the, not perfectionism exactly, but the nuance of that, perfectionism. Um, and without naming the person, without, calling them out, because I don't think that that's right. To do, like criticize people in videos, I will link below the video about perfectionism. Again, the points were totally valid, but he was calling it perfectionism, and if you're going to base it around that, that's wrong. That's wrong. You're getting it wrong. So, yeah, just if you get sides with the perfectionism, you get confused, and you like, wait, I thought it was all this, but then there's good things to it. Like, is it bad or is it good? Well, they say both, but this is an exception to that. So anyway, problem solving, very good at that. Seeing details that others overlook. Service in relationships, helping out the other, like they are so humble with service. They want to help out the other, like, here, let me do this for you. Like their love language is acts of service. That's how they operate. Okay, so the focus here is on functions. Virgo is about the function of things. How well are things working? The functional aspects of life, the medical, the the business, the work, and just say for medical is actually correct. If you just say the word for medical, then I guess that is correct. I think I'm taking that from somebody in my life who I perceive as saying for medical time and time again, who has the moon and Neptune in Virgo. I'm just going to give away, that's all I'm going to give away about it. So two placements in Virgo. So they gave a little bit away about, the age, but anyway. Can you hint? I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to call out individuals in this video, but maybe you can get a hint as to maybe who I'm referring to in my life. So the focus is on functions, how are things working out in that way. Now, because they're so detail-oriented, this is a skill, like, your South Node, for instance, is what you've gained from past life. Like the same way that I was talking about. I want to bring it into your South Node and your North Node. Your North Node is what you're developing in this life, but your South Node is the talents of what you've already come in with. And the point is to not relearn those talents. You've done that already. It's like natural. You don't relearn what you're already good at doing. You don't relearn what's natural to you. You can drop, into that, and it's healthy to drop into that. And you need to be balanced to drop into what you're natural, because we have to do that because you have to balance out the nodes. But but you can teach others the lessons of your South Node, and through that, that's how one way that you can develop into your North Node, by teaching others the lessons of your South Node and not continuing to do the same patterns over and over again with that, because that South Node, getting stuck in the same, you know, hamster wheel over and over, until you exhaust it to death. So they can teach others how to be detail oriented and be precise in their communication. So that's one thing, is they can teach others to pay attention to the details. And Virgo is very precise in communication. Like, they're precise in a lot of things, but they're very precise in what they say. They want to make sure that, like, especially Mercury and Virgo, that what they say is precise, accurate, clear, and maybe this Mercury in Pisces will really be beneficial or difficult for them coming up if you're watching this on the day that this is getting published. And I did a podcast episode about that where I went in depth on the themes of that yesterday. You can teach others to be detail oriented only when you can learn to love yourself first. You have a lot of practical advice to share. That's certainly true. Another example of perfectionism is when you're so caught up in the things that you, actually the opposite of resting on your laurels. Do not tell a Jupiter and Virgo that they are, resting on the laurels. Don't tell them that. Do not tell them that, because that's something that they need to get out of. Um, because they are so focused, they do the opposite of resting on the laurels. They, they focus on the next thing that they can do, because we are talking about Jupiter, of course. So there's this bit of, confidence and optimism, even though there's difficulty with that. The next thing I can do, and how can I do better the next time? How can I do better the next time? What can I do different the next time? And sometimes it's good to focus on that, but sometimes when we overemphasize that, we forget what is good this time. What did we do good this time? That we can carry into the next time, but first acknowledging what we did good this time. Like, be present with this. That's what I'm saying here. There's constantly the need to be better and constantly the need to improve. Perfectionism kills your joy. I'm just going to say that outright if I didn't make that clear before. It kills your joy, it kills creativity, it kills your just enjoyment of life. I have learned to just be okay with things being imperfect and just move on. From reading is a big thing, like reading fiction books especially, from making videos to probably cooking, like, I don't know, making songs or whatever. And so perfectionism limits you from seeing what's good in what you have done well in your life. So that's what can limit you. To focus on what's going well in your life and not what's not working. Another thing is they are so resistant to help. They are so resistant to receiving help because they think that they have to be the ones to do it. Like Earth, like, here's the thing about Earth energy is that they feel that they have to be responsible for every mundane practical detail of everybody's life. Like, Virgo is an energy where they have to be in charge of everybody's life. Like, Virgo has to micromanage. Virgo has to be in charge of every detail of everybody's life. And what they can do when they over focus on this is they can struggle with accepting help from others and just receiving. Like, Virgo's so good at giving all the time and helping, but what if they actually step back and receive help and allow help in, which could come in the form of several forms. And I want to circle back to compassionate constructive criticism. That's the only type of criticism that you should give Jupiter and Virgo, period. The only type of criticism. Any other criticism? Nope, no, 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 no. It has to be compassionate, constructive criticism. That's it. Because I've lived through it and I know it. Okay, that's what I'm telling you. So, don't feel that you always have to help others. That's the thing, learning to receive as opposed to give. And be discerning about the criticism you receive. Like, you don't, like, Virgo, like, oh my goodness gracious. Yes, receive. But Virgo takes things so personally. Like, when someone judges, like, if somebody comments under my videos, it's something nitpicky, like, I naturally take it personally. So let me tell you, if you're going to judge this video, compassionate, constructive criticism. Compassionate, constructive criticism. If you were to judge this video at all, like if you say, well, calm down, okay, I may get too carried away, maybe I will consider that. I won't probably doing it, but now that I know that, and that I heard it from somebody else, I'm going to consider that and see what I can do. Like these kind of things like that, like compassionate, um, self-criticism. Any criticism that is negative or judgmental. Um, we think criticism is like all bad, judgmental, but there is like compassionate criticism. And that's something that can be sort of have sides. It's not why criticism is bad. Criticism can be compassionate. You can deliver criticism in compassionate and loving and understanding ways. Okay? So if you're giving criticism, others try to avoid the tendency to give negative criticism and give compassionate criticism. And if you're receiving that, don't just take any old criticism from anybody. Be discerning about it and only take the compassionate criticism. They're constantly working towards excellence in this life. They know this, they're working towards excellence. It's one of the things that they are striving towards, but they're already really good at the pursuit of excellence and doing things really well. Now, prosperity. Prosperity is more than money and work. I think that we get that confused. It's more than dollars and points. It's what makes you feel happy and abundant. That's what prosperity is. Prosperity for me is when I make my videos. Like right now, I feel very prosperous and very happy in my life. Prosperity is when I have all these books to read and all these things that I'm interested in. I have felt really prosperous in my life this year. Really prosperous. Having all these things I enjoy doing. When I make a recipe, like when I'm cooking, I feel prosperous because I actually did something very good. Like when I get something done and off the ground, I feel prosperous. Like we have to, and right, and it's easier said than done because you may not always feel prosperous, and you may be watching this thing. I'm so depressed, or I'm so down, or I just don't feel prosperous. Don't try to look for the prosperity and overthink the prosperity and try to feel it when you don't feel it. You will feel prosperous at sometimes in your life, and you won't feel prosperous at other times. Like when you feel prosperous, recognize it and embrace it. But when you don't, be okay with that. So that's what I'm going to say about that. How you define prosperity for yourself, not in terms of work or situations or money. Um, and so you can use your practical healing abilities to make the world a better place. So that's the last little note that I want to leave you on. I know this was a long podcast. But I didn't overwhelm you with points, didn't I? I mean, probably overwhelmed you with enlightenment and insight, but the new way of making these videos is not listing all the facts, all the information, everything you need to know about this, everything you could possibly know about this. Like, I don't do that anymore because it's boring. It's not so interesting anymore. I don't enjoy that anymore. This is way more fun and way more interesting. And hopefully you like me doing it in this podcast format. That you like these new formats that I'm doing these videos. I enjoy it. I want to continue doing it. And if you like this content, you can do all the things, subscribe, share, whatever, I want to stop because this podcast is long enough. I had a really good feeling that this would be long. And lo and behold, it is. I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to apologize for it. The end.